So, very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Lillehammer. Continental Cup action coming up here. The 13th of the 24 competitions in the second tier of world ski jumping. And welcome to FIS TV. I am David Goldstrom on a fairly nice morning here in Lillehammer in Norway. The trial round finished in the last 15 minutes. With Isak Langmo of Norway coming out of gate 10 at 140.5 meters. Front wind conditions. Robin Pedersen of Norway from the same gate, 135. Markus Müller for Austria, 138 meters. Zach Mogul for Slovenia, 131 meters. And Jürgen Ström, successful yesterday, 132 meters. And so everything really set for a good competition on the big hill here in Lillehammer, which of course hosted the 1994 Winter Olympics gold medal competition on the big hill, won by Jens Weisflog from Espen Bredesen, with Andy Goldberger of Austria taking the bronze medal. The hill here with a calculation line at 123 meters where the blue and the red carpets meet. The hill size 140. The hill record jointly held by Simon Oman, 146 meters, set way back in 2009, equaled by Marcus Eisenbichler in 2016. And the jury today consisting of the chief of competition, Robert Hansen, the technical delegate, Frank Salvi, the assistant technical delegate, Carolina Ojala. So, welcome to Lillehammer in Norway for the 13th of the 24 competitions that make up the Continental Cup today and for this season. 59 competitors from 12 countries ready to take their chance. Some athletes trying to recover their form coming out of World Cup and going back to Continental Cup. Others, well, this is a stepping stone towards what they hope will be the World Cup and ultimately representation for their respective countries at World Championship and even Olympic level. These are the 59 athletes from the 12 countries who are in the competition today. And Jürgen Ström, the man who won yesterday, a first success for him in terms of Continental Cup competition. But there's a real mixture of talent in the whole field. You can see Eric Belshaw there, a good example of an athlete who is trying to find his rhythm, trying to find his form. Further down the list on the next page, Konstantin Schmidt, a man who's been on a World Cup podium. Philip Aschenwald, very experienced, also in the lineup today. Zach Mogul wearing bib number 41. Zach, who was 10th in Sapporo back in 2023, his best ever World Cup result. And then 54 to 59, the men who are in the best shape in terms of Continental Cup. Interestingly enough, Clemens Eigner, who was 15th in the World Cup in Villingen yesterday, still leading the overall Continental Cup standings, despite the fact that he's not competing here. Ahead of Solveig Strand and Jürgen Ström. Robin Pedersen of Norway in 4th place. So Austria leading the Continental Cup rankings. Norway 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Ben Bayer of Germany in 5th place, ahead of Clemens Leitner of Austria. And then Fredrik Willemstad of Norway in 7th place, ahead of Luca Roth, who's been performing in World Cup. Markus Müller, 9th for Austria in the Continental Cup rankings. and Nicholas Backlinger, former junior world champion, completing the top 10. So Jakob Valseth getting us underway, 105.5 meters. For this man. Next to come, Mats Strandbråten. Or I should apologize, Mats Strandbråten, 116.5 meters. Just a reminder that the calculation line, 123 meters, so a deduction of 1.8 points for every meter short of that distance. The Norwegian youngsters getting us underway here. Mats Strandbråten in the lead at the moment. And Poland now. Almirkiewicz. And short of that upper line, 21-year-old Polish athlete. 11th in Zakopane back in March of 2024, his best ever result in Continental Cup. But 111 meters today leaves him a long way off the number. Only the best 30, of course, to go through to the final round. Sergei Tukashenko, a little better. Sergei now 21 years of age, lining up, and this is Jan Galicia right on the calculation line, and that will give him the lead. That's the best performance we've seen so far, 105.4 points, and Jan Galicia of Poland takes the lead. Now Sergei Tukashenko, junior world bronze medalist way back in 2019 in Lahti, a young man who's already represented his country, Kazakhstan, at 2 Olympic Games, Pyeongchang and Beijing. Would be really nice to see him come back to that sort of 2019 form, where he was also on the podium in Kazakhstan in a Continental Cup in Shushinsk. And onto the calculation line there, just into second place, behind Galicia of Poland. Poiradier for France, the new generation. Poiradier. "90 kilometers of in-run speed, but only 112.5 meters. And unfortunately, that isn't going to be sufficient in terms of distance or style points to keep him alive in the competition. Fourth at the moment, but he's going to drop a long way further down. Switzerland, Elias Arnold, only 17. 44th in Engelberg. Towards the end of last year, his best ever result in Continental Cup. And a two-footed landing there. Really, most of his work has been done in Alpine and FIS Cup, the other graduating competitions. So Jan Galicia for Poland with the advantage at the moment. United States, another 17-year-old. Sawyer Graves from Steamboat Springs. Close to getting a point in Eisenerz recently. But this also is really an opportunity for experience. He has finished second in a FIS Cup competition. And Zakalsek for Slovenia now. outside the top 40 here yesterday, but that was a personal best. That's a little bit more encouraging. Not up to the calculation line, though. ...115 meters into fourth place. Galicia from Lukashenko, Poland from Kazakhstan at the moment, and Andero Cap for Estonia. Outside the top 50 in yesterday's competition. And again, well short of the required distance. That's not even 110 meters. Conditions very stable here. Front wind fluctuating just a little bit, but generally very fair conditions for everybody. Switzerland now. Another man who was outside the top 50 yesterday, Marius Sieber. Fifth in the Swiss Junior World Team in 2024 in Planica. Sixth, the Swiss Juniors in the team event last season in Lake Placid. And Marius, well, he has got the odd Continental Cup point. Devyatkin for Kazakhstan. That's a little bit more encouraging for the 26-year-old. Close to 120 meters, in fact, just short. And that's going to put him up into, as you can see, the top three, behind his teammate Lukashenko. Less than 100 points, though, and Janne Holtz for Germany. Personal best yesterday in Continental Cup, 29th, couple of Continental Cup points. Nicely done, into bonus point territory. Looking to take over the lead, Janne Holtz. Style is good, distance is good, and new leader. 3 times an Alpine Cup winner, including Kran most recently in Slovenia in January 2026. So Germany with the advantage, now the Czech Republic. Benedikt Holub out to his left, as you could see. Mid-20s. 17th in Lillehammer. Not yesterday, but in 2024, in February of that year, his best ever in Continental Cup. And so too Paavo Rompainen of Finland. 23 years of age. Rompainen, who has competed in World Cup but yet to get a point. That's a little more encouraging for the Finns. 17's decent score, distance right up there with Janne Holtz, an extra half meter, and goes into the lead by exactly a point, half a meter. Finland take the edge from Germany. Poland drop into third, for Galica down to third, Lukashenko to fourth. Heiskanen challenging his own teammate. He was outside the top 40 yesterday. This is just a little bit more encouraging. Just recently in Eisenherz in Austria, got his first Continental Cup points, finished in the top 30. Filip Krenek now for the Czechs, 20 years of age. 28th in Zhangjiakou in China, his best ever result in Continental Cup. And likely to stay that way, I'm afraid, today. And next up, another of the Norwegians, Richard Selbekk Hansen, whose 27th place yesterday was a personal best in Continental Cup. Through the compression off the table there, nicely balanced, and that's pretty good. Norway, you've got a strong contingent here on a home hill, 125.5 meters. This won't be far off the lead into third place. A couple of points, just a meter separating the front three. Louis Obsteiner for the French. And that's around the calculation line as well. 12th, his best ever finish in Continental Cup, but that is now the best part of 3 years ago. Louis, 21 years of age, to be followed now by another young Frenchman, Ari Repelin, only 21. And that's the wrong side of the calculation line, disappointing. However, having said that, encouraging to see this new generation of French youngsters. And now we go to a man who is a more familiar face in terms of World Cup, Andrew Olav for the United States, from the Flying Eagles Ski Club. Points in the World Cup in Falun on the normal hill in December. The Americans, who've had a pretty tough time in the World Cup, only really Jason Colby, the man who has shone, but Kevin Bickner, Tate France, Eric Belshaw, Andy Olav, they've all struggled a bit, and it's going to be a tough Olympics. Nick Gostisa La now for Slovenia. That's very good. Very, very good there from the 20-year-old. Top 20 in Eisenerz. Eisenerz rounds 10 and 11 of this season's Continental Cup just a couple of weeks ago. And 127 meters gives Gostisa the lead. Slovenia take over the advantage from Finland. Another Slovenian, Prešnik. And that should earn the odd extra point for distance as well. In fact, he's just half a meter short of the calculation line. Star marks are okay, top 5. Top 5 at the moment, separated by 6 points, about 3 meters. And now another familiar face, Jakob Volny. 30 years of age, top 10 in his time in Titisee Neustadt in the World Cup, but has really struggled this season. Four times a Continental Cup winner in his time, Volny, but well down the order in 9th place, something like 11 points off the lead. And Kamil Waszek now for the Polish boys. This is really encouraging, the number of Polish youngsters. It really shows you how they've been inspired, initially by Adam Małysz, latterly by Kamil Stoch, who incidentally is going to be the flag bearer for Poland at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. And Kamil Waszek, 120.5 meters, not too bad. Teammate to follow. Lukasz. Another of the teenagers, only 18, but this is really encouraging to see this reservoir of talent. This has been a while in being developed. So Nick Gostista of Slovenia leading at the moment from Pavo Rompainen. Janne Holtz of Germany in third place, ahead of Richard Selbekk Hansen of Norway. And now Hegli, this could be interesting. And it is. Bendik Jakobsen Hegli, 24 years of age, goes up into the top position, 128 meters, 119, almost 120 points, and that's a significant lead. That's about 7 points ahead of the field. Hegli, 7th in the ski flying championships in Oberstdorf back in 2022, 11th on the big hill in Titisee in the same season. Daniel Skorka for the Czech Republic. Six, 7 meters short of the calculation line. And next up, America's Eric Belshaw, junior world silver medalist, of course, 2 seasons ago in Planica, and 8th in Planica on the big ski flying hill in 2024. Unfortunately, since then, the form hasn't been quite that good. Short of 123 meters, 120. A breath of front wind, very little deduction. That will help him a little bit. Eric Belshaw in the top 10, 105 points, but to put that in perspective, that is 14 points down off the lead. And here, Bryce Clutch, his American teammate, much less experienced. Bryce, who was in the Continental Cup points in Zhangjiakou in China, 22nd there, 23rd in Sapporo, and a member of the American team who were bronze medalists in the Junior Worlds in Lake Placid last season. And now to Alessandro Batby, representing France, this 24-year-old. And that's also well below 6-7 meters short, 116 meters. So Bendik Hegli of Norway leading away from Gostisa of Poland. Sorry, Gostisa of Slovenia. Rompainen of Finland, ahead of Janne Holtz, and then the Norwegian Selbekk Hansen. Tuomas Kinnunen now for Finland. Decent height over the knoll, but didn't get the distance he was really looking for. A decent result in Eisenherz in Austria, in Styria just recently, 16th there. That's his best ever finish in the Continental Cup. Yannick Wasser for Switzerland, his sister Celine also involved in the sport. Wasser, who's got a little World Cup experience, got some points in Vikersund last season for finishing 25th. And next up here, Udvar Gunnerud for Norway, just 18. Second in the Youth Olympic Games in 2024 in Gangwon in China. Good result, that. And for Norway, also a new generation beginning to emerge. That's just shy of the calculation line, as you can see there. 16s, 17s, fair marks. 9th place puts him some 14 points off the lead, and so to the Czech Republic and 20-year-old David Riegel. Top 25 in the Junior Worlds in Lake Placid. 10th with the Czech youngsters in the team competition on the normal hill. Top 15 in Ruka at the beginning of the Continental Cup campaign, his best ever so far. This particular discipline in this particular level, Adrian Tittel now for Germany. At his best, he could really get to the leaders, but not today. Yesterday he was outside the top 40. Junior World bronze medalist in Planica in 2024, Adrian Tittel, so disappointing, but now to a very experienced athlete representing Germany, Martin Hamann. 13 top 20s in World Cup competitions. And Hamann showing that experience, the 28-year-old. And this is competitive, 130 meters. And those are the best style marks we've seen so far. 1, 2, 3 marks of 18 or better to give Martin Hamann the overall lead. 3 times a Continental Cup individual competition winner in his time. Germany take back the advantage. Krujat for Poland now. Not bad in China, 11th and 13th in Zhang Liaokov. On the large hill in China, his best ever results. But today, I'm afraid, down the table. And another of the Polish boys, Adam Nizhnik, also got a good result in China, 12th in Zhang Liaokov, a best to date. What I'm encouraged by is not the fact that they're not reaching the calculation line today, but they're not that far away. Now, Zach Mogul, a familiar face in World Cup, a best ever in Sapporo in 2023 when he was 10th. 3 times a Continental Cup winner. Zach Mogul, 9th yesterday, should be able to make his presence felt. Good height, good flight, lovely balance. There's the distance we were looking for. Over 130, 135 meters. And these are very decent marks. Martin Hamann had the lead. Zach Mogul for Slovenia now into first place. Stefan Reiner, another experienced athlete for Austria, 26 years of age. This is really high standard now from some of these athletes now. Zach Mogul leading from Martin Hamann. Bendik Hegeli in 3rd place. Ene Paletic next to go for Slovenia, this 19-year-old. Just outside the top 15 yesterday. That was a decent result. And getting to the calculation line and half a meter of bonus points there. Top 20 in the Junior Worlds on home snow in Planica 2 seasons ago, and now Sindre Jørgensen on the podium in 3rd place yesterday. As good as 2nd in Garmisch a couple of seasons ago, and he's good again. Sindre, 24 years of age, 135 meters, that's up there with Zach Mogul. 8 points, the front wind deduction. And that's really why he's in second place, but he's only in second place by 0.7 of a point. 0.9 is half a meter, so it's that tight. And now Konstantin Schmidt, once upon a time a real prospect for Germany, on the podium in Rasnov on the normal hill back in 2020. That's his best ever, but he's been a shadow of that. Actually, in his time finished in 4th place in Lahti on the big hill, but at the moment the form, the lights are out, and he's really lost his way. Yannick FIS now for Germany. 16th yesterday, that was a pretty good result. Has been as good as 6th already in the Continental Cup this season. That was in Austria, in Eisenerz. That's not so competitive today. Now we're getting deep into the final phase of this first round. And this is where we should really start to pick up some challenges. Slovenia next. Goraj Zavrznik. Just outside the top 20. That was yesterday. Not quite far enough to be threatening. Slovenia with the advantage from Sindre Jørgensen. Norway in second place, Martin Herman in third. And now Philipp Aschenwald. 12 times a Continental Cup winner in this particular discipline. And Aschenwald recently successful and has a podium to his credit in the World Cup back in, excuse me, Nizhny Tagil back in 2019. Aschenwald into third place for Austria. Zimmermann now for Austria also, top 15 yesterday. That's encouraging. Nicely finished off. Spacing was good. The back was straight. Marks should be decent. 18, that's not unreasonable. 18 and a half even. 131. Now fourth place. And only 3 points off the lead. So less than 2 meters down. And Hannes Landerer for Austria. Well, he was disappointing yesterday outside the top 40, but he's better than that. And that's a little better. Six times a FIS Cup winner in his career. And so to the man who finished sixth yesterday, Adrian Gunnarsrud for Norway. Twice a runner-up in Continental Cup competitions, including Eisenerz this season. And this is where this competition is really beginning to take shape now. Top 10, 118, about 9 points, 5 meters off the lead there. And Langmo. Now, this is interesting. Isaac Langmo, 140 and a half meters from gate 10 in the trial round. We're at exactly the same gate. Could he possibly replicate or even go a little bit further? Langmo flying, and Langmo in really good form. 16th recently in Japan in the World Cup. And Langmo, 140 and a half meters to take the advantage. Norway 1, Slovenia 2 at the moment. Norway. with a few challengers to come, and this is the former junior world champion of 2021, Nicholas Bucklinger, excuse me, for Austria. Round about 125 meters. Bucklinger with a lot to do to catch up. He's 10th in the Continental Cup rankings, and here's Markus Müller lying 9th in the season-long rankings so far. Müller really aggressive, and that really worked. Not actually so aggressive, but definitely committed. And Müller, 4th yesterday, just missed the podium. 3 times a Continental Cup winner, up into 2nd place behind Langmo, about 5 points off the lead at the moment. And now Fredrik Willemstad, top 10 yesterday. The Norwegian, 26 years of age, pretty experienced. Should be there or thereabouts, Willemstad. Well, top 10, but quite a bit to do, and so too Clemens Leitner, winner in Engelberg, and 3 top 10s in Continental Cup competition. This is the man who has been a real force in the Continental Cup in 2020, won the overall title, 11 times a winner at this level. But 120.5 meters, that's a real worry. Way down the order for Leitner, down in 19th place, but good enough to qualify for the final round. Now Ben Bayer for Germany. Only 21, but quite promising. And that really is a disappointment. He was 7th yesterday, runner-up in Zhang Liaokou, his best ever in China. That was in mid-January. And 113 meters, that really is disappointing from Leitner and now Bayer. Now Robin Pedersen, one of the most effective athletes at Continental Cup level, 135 meters in the trial round, chasing his teammate Langmo. Langmo clearly the advantage there. This is only 2 or 3 meters, as you can see, into bonus point territory. Robin Pedersen, 12 times a winner at this level. And now the man who broke his duck yesterday, Jürgen Ström, 25 years of age, a Continental Cup winner for the first time, former Nordic Combiner, who's made the switch and now realized a dream. And that's competitive. 132 meters in the trial round, and he's matched that distance, which will put him into the top 10. And we come to the end of the first round, and the honor goes to Isaac Andreas Langmo at 140.5 meters, emulating what he did in the trial round. Markus Müller, the very good Austrian, in 2nd place, 5 points off the lead. Zach Mogul of Slovenia, 3rd best at the moment. Then Sindre Jørgensen, who was on the podium yesterday in 3rd place, in 4th place, ahead of Philipp Aschenwald, completing the top 5. And the top 5 separated by some 13 points. 13 points, well, it's really a separation of 7.25 meters. 20 minutes to the start of the final round. The top 30, of course, as ever, going in reverse order. And really looking forward to this, to see whether Langmo can make it a Norwegian weekend here. But really interesting. Müller of Austria certainly within striking distance, and Zach Mogul also not out of this at all. One or two little bits of news for you in terms of World Cup athletes. Really encouraging Žiga Žela coming back after an injured thigh muscle, after missing something like 6 weeks, as you see the leaderboard. And Domen Preutz, after his 155 meters yesterday in the World Cup, said that he's very conscious of keeping himself in good shape and healthy for the Olympic Games. Carl Geiger absolutely delighted yesterday to be on the podium, and found it difficult to describe his happiness after all the hard work over not just weeks but months. Slovakia's Hector Kapustik struggled yesterday in the World Cup, but his sister Kira, well, it was a bit of a red letter day for her yesterday, because if you were with us, she took her first victory in the Women's Intercontinental Cup, and that was the first success since Thomas Zamore won a FIS Cup competition for the Slovakians way back in 2013, so really encouraging. These men you can see down here, 51 to 59, sadly out of the competition, no points for them today. So we're going to take a little pause for a few moments, an opportunity to, how shall I put it, put the kettle on and get a cup of something warm, whilst the boys go back to their servicemen and check their videos and see how and where they can improve on the second flights. Lillehammer, it really is a fantastic place. It's not just the ski jumping, it's the gymnasium, it's the school here, it's the equivalent of Stams, and a wonderful place to actually grow up as a ski jumper, but also get a very good education. So, back very shortly to set up the second round. Well, welcome once again on behalf of FIS TV to Lillehammer, getting ready for the second decisive second round here in the second Continental Cup competition of the weekend. The women, they have their Intercontinental Cup a little later here. And if you are just joining us, delighted to have your company. This is round 13 of 24 in the Continental Cup, the second tier of world ski jumping. Here on the big hill in Lillehammer, the calculation line at 123 meters, the hill size 140. The meter value 1.8 points per meter, the gate factor 7.56 points per meter, the headwind factor 9.9 points per meter, and the backwind 11.98 points per meter. The judges marking out of 20 as ever, Kristin Jasve from Norway, Trond Bisven from Norway, Glenn Remy Helgerud of Norway, Alf Christian Fale from Norway, and Petra Toivonen from Finland. Chief of competition, Robert Hansen, technical delegate, Frank Solvi, supported by his assistant, Carolina Ojala. And we're almost set to go. At the top of the table, Isak Andreas Langmo for Norway, looking for the weekend double. Really impressive so far. Won the trial round at 140.5 meters and replicated that in the actual competition to take a 2 3/4 meter advantage over Markus Müller of Austria. It should be a good battle between them. Zach Mogul of Slovenia about 7 meters off the lead in third place at the halfway stage. And then Sindre Jørgensen, who was on the podium for Norway yesterday, also 7 and a bit meters off the lead. So the top 5 should have a really good tussle. The top 30 separated by 21 meters, the top 20 by 18, the top 10 by 12 meters. As we look forward now to this second round. And the man who's going to get us under the way is the Slovenian Ene Faletic, lying in 30th place. Ene will be a little disappointed. He was 17th yesterday. That was a respectable result, but way back today, so really has something to prove. Gate number 10 is what we used in the first round in pretty stable front wind conditions. And we are just literally 2 minutes away from the announced start time of the final round. So this is the order in which they'll take their turn here. Lillehammer, lovely place to come to, located as it is at the northern end of Norway's largest lake, Mjøsa, and of course host to the 1994 Winter Olympic Games, a regular stop on the World Cup Tour. Very solid organization, extremely friendly. Just down the road from here, the Birkebeiner, a regular host of the World Cup skiers and the Continental Cup skiers. Excellent host and really good food there as well. So here we go. Second round, sit back and enjoy this with FIS TV. Vorspringer to just settle the jury as to which gate to come out from. always a little quiet in the Continental Cup, and it's really very much a sporting occasion. Not too many fans get up here, which in a way is disappointing, but of course all these young men hoping one day to be the headliners, to be heading to the next Winter Olympics after Milan Cortina, which is now less than a week away, the opening ceremony. So, 19 years of age, Erne Faletic, to try and make amends, to try and improve on his first round effort. The balance was so much better, and that's really encouraging. Coming out of gate 11, one gate higher, over the calculation line, and that starts the second round in very, very good shape. 4.5 meters worth of bonus points in terms of distance. The front wind is still with us, 219 points. It's not a bad score. David Riegel now for the Czech Republic. Less than a meter advantage over the man who's just preceded him. And that won't be enough to hold his ranking position. 20 years of age. David drops into second place, and the next man, again, disappointing in the first round, Louis Obsteiner for France. Louis 26 yesterday. So a real target for him to at least get into the top 25 if he can. He's going to need bonus points. And he's got probably a deduction of 2 meters. Yeah, 1.5 meter deduction for distance. Next man up, Sergei Tukashenko. So promising a few years back in 2019 when he got that junior world bronze medal, but hasn't managed to move forward. Having said that, he's still in his mid-20s. The possibility to improve still exists. Eric Belshaw going far too early for his ability in this final round. Some 3 points ahead of Faletic, almost 2 meters in his pocket advantage. Faletic at 123.5 meters, and Belshaw's up there at the calculation line, 125.5, and manages to, well, at least hold his ranking position. Slovenia now, and another youngster, 22 years of age, Gorazd. Belshaw will prevail. Gunnerud should be the next man. Oddvar Gunnerud. Taking on Belshaw, and that surpasses the 123 meter line handsomely. 129 meters there for this man, Oddvar Gunnerud. Only 18. This is the youngster who was runner-up, silver medalist in the Youth Olympic Games in 2024. 11th in the Continental Cup in Lillehammer. Yesterday, his best ever. And Galicia of Poland into 4th place. Gunnerode, Belshore, Valetic and Galicia. The 1, 2, 3, 4. And Yannick Wasser now for Switzerland. Wasser and Gunnerode only separated by half a meter. And Gunnerode 129 meters. That gives you an idea of what Wasser had to do to get back on terms, and it's not a bad effort, is it? Into 2nd place. And it misses out by 0.8 of a point. Switzerland goes 2nd, Belshore of America down to 3rd, and now Clemens Leitner going really early for this very experienced and talented Austrian. Might well shake up the table. Short of 130, but not by much. 129 meters matches Clemens Leitner, matches Gunnerode in terms of distance, and with his advantage from the first round, goes into the lead by some 3 points. Prešnik of Slovenia, 24 years of age. This Slovenian will do well to hold that ranking position. And that is not a bad effort from him. (128.5 meters). Top 3 at the moment pushes Wasser out of the podium positions. Stefan Reiner for Austria. Again, this is a man who should be competitive. And he is. That's close to 130 as well. Only a 3-point front wind deduction coming out of gate 11. And Stefan Reiner of Austria makes it an Austrian 1-2 at the top of the leaderboard. Stefan Reiner ahead of Clemens Leitner. Reiner mid-20s, yet to achieve a Winter World Cup point, but has finished close to the top 30. Lovely from Richard Selbekk Hansen of Norway. That is 130 meters. Excellent. A personal best yesterday, finishing in 27th place. And this is going to be another improvement. Norway with the advantage. Janne Holtz now of Germany to challenge. Just a couple of Continental Cup points yesterday for finishing 29th. Today, just that little bit better. Well, 3.5 meters beyond the calculation line. That's not shabby. Into 4th place. Selbekk Hansen of Norway ahead of Stefan Reiner. Clemens Leitner of Austria in 3rd place. Janne Holtz of Germany in 4th. Then Gunnerode of Norway. And now Rompainen of Finland. Again, encouraging. Close to 130 meters. Just a meter shy. With his advantage from the first round, it'll put him up into 2nd place. 1.6 points, just a meter, just under a meter behind Selbekk Hansen of Norway, but Nicholas Backlinger, for his ability going far too early in this final round, can he make amends? Looked a little late coming off the takeoff there, but it's worked. Now the style marks will be interesting here. They're actually better than I thought. Nicholas Backlinger, 129.5 meters into 2nd place, 0.1 of a point behind Richard Selbekk Hansen of Norway. Grostisa for Slovenia. This is what you'd hope for, that a lot of these athletes would raise their game. And the jury confident enough to give the top 30 this higher in-run gate, which is improving the in-run speed to 90 kilometers. Robin Pedersen from far too far back for his ability. Pedersen lying fourth in the Continental Cup overall rankings for the season so far. Pedersen on a hill that he knows really well. Now, this should be 17.5 to 18s, I would think. 130.5 meters. Norway leading, Norway challenging, and Norway have gone 1 and 2 because Robin Pedersen has got ahead of his teammate Selbekk Hansen by 2 points, just a little bit more than a meter. Hannes Landerer, another man who should be able to make an impression here. Disappointing yesterday. That's much more encouraging. Landerer just outside the top 15 in the Continental Cup rankings, but slumped to 47th yesterday, so will finish higher today. And the next man, another of the Norwegians, Adrian Gundersrud. Well, the Norwegians really have got to grips with this hill. Twice a runner-up in Continental Cup competitions, 6th yesterday, and a new leader, and Norway are 1, 2 and 3. Gundersrud going ahead of Robin Pedersen, and decisively by the, 7.5, 8.5 points, getting on for 5 meters. And another challenge, Fredrik Willemstad, top 10 yesterday. Now, is that going to be enough? Because Gundersrud, 128 meters, and Willemstad, 130. Good style marks, -6 points, and it's that -6 which has dropped him into second place. Gundersrud and Norway are 1, 2, 3 and 4, and even more joy for the home team. Hegli now at his best, he would really make an impression here. 24 years of age, pretty experienced, World Cup experience, but not today. Drops by the wayside, less than the calculation line, misses by 2.5 meters. Hegli will be really disappointed with that. Well, Norway ruling the roost at the moment, but Martin Hamann might have something to say about that. Martin Hamann. We're into the top 10 now from the first round. And Hamann only around 123 meters. Hamann challenging Gundersrud, and although he had about 2 meters advantage, it's not going to make an impact. And Martin Hamann will be really disappointed. Now, the man looking for the weekend double, Jürgen Ström, 132 meters the first flight. Needs much more than that. And he has got much more than that. That is almost 140 meters. Jürgen Oliver Ström, the former Nordic Combiner, representing Norway. And Norway now are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 263.7 points. That is really excellent, and they're all going to have to go now to really depose these Norwegians. Raphael Zimmermann, top 20 in the Continental Cup before today. That's respectable. Runner-up in Stams in the Continental Cup last September. His best ever result at this level, and that's over 130 meters. And he spoils the Norwegian party by going into second place. 10 big points, though, behind Jürgen Ström. And now Philipp Aschenwald, hoping, as his fans are, that he's on his way back after missing so much of so many seasons. Aschenwald, encouraging, out for the best part of 3 years with a knee injury, and it's going to be hard for him to recapture a top place in the Austrian elite. Aschenwald into second place, Zimmermann down to third, but Ström still leading, and Jørgensen for Norway, third on the podium yesterday. Deep down the hill, and that's a challenge. That's over 135 meters. 136. Aschenwald had at 132. Jørgensen 135. Ström 132. The 5.8 point deduction, that's the mitigating factor. Jørgensen into third place. Zach Mogul for Slovenia. 7 meters behind the half-time leader, third at the halfway stage, and Zach Mogul for Slovenia. Over 130 meters. Top 5, but not on the podium, Zach. 2 to go, Marcus Müller. And then Langmo, separated by 2 3/4 meters, but Marcus Müller needs to get to 140 meters. And look at that, going for the hillside and beyond. 141.5 meters, the distance for Marcus Müller, who's thrown the gauntlet down to Isaac Langmo. And here is Langmo, who on his boots. Langmo has the 23rd Psalm stenciled into his boots. The Lord is my shepherd. How does he do today? And he's matched up there with Müller. A 2 3/4 meter advantage. He's got the same distance, Langmo, as Marcus Müller. And Norway, who've been so prominent, so dominant in this second round, well, they are the dominant force at the end of the competition. Langmo of Norway takes the victory ahead of Marcus Müller of Austria. Jürgen Ström of Norway in third place. And then Aschenwald, fourth for Austria, ahead of Jørgensen of Norway. Zach Mogul, the best for Slovenia, in sixth place. Zimmermann of Austria in seventh. And then Gunnarsrud for Norway, Willemstad for Norway, Robin Pedersen for Norway, Selbekk Hansen in 10th place for Norway, before, or 11th place, I should say. And then Backlinger, Nicholas Backlinger for Austria in 12th place. So Isaac Andreas Langmo, congratulations to him. He wins the day by 1.1 points. 0.9 would be half a meter, so it's a little bit more than that. And Langmo takes the honors today and takes the 100 points for the Continental Cup victory. The 21-year-old who was second yesterday, first today, and most recently in the World Cup, 16th in Sapporo. And that, as far as I can remember, would be Langmo's second Continental Cup victory. Was successful in Ruka before the turn of the year. So those are valuable points for Langmo. Langmo, who started the day down in 13th place in the Continental Cup, but he has been competing in the World Cup, so that's the reason why he's down the table. But he will move up today with 100 points. 180 for the weekend. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the action here from Lillehammer. The Women's Continental Cup to follow later in the day, but of course, all eyes will turn to Villingen, the last Women's World Cup and the Men's World Cup about to take center stage here on FIS TV, the last big World Cup competitions before the Olympic Games in Milan Cortina and those hills in Predazzo, in Trentino. And we'll be focusing on those in the coming afternoon. So thank you for being with us on FIS TV this morning. Time to have a little break, and then we'll be focusing on the big hill in Villingen. And if you can join us on FIS TV, absolutely delighted to have your company. From myself, David Goldstrom, and the FIS team, thanks again for getting up early and joining us here in Lillehammer. Enjoy your lunch. Join us this afternoon. For the moment, though, bye-bye from Norway.